So this time I thought I'd go ahead and show a little bit of how the stuff is working. Um, so each of these balls right here are just supposed to be like a placeholder item. I'll be able to replace them with a beer bottle, a rock, a chair, whatever I need to. Just not worrying about that until it works. But how I have it set up is that on each item there's this. It's called an FSM. Starts out in the idle stage. And in the idle, I can show you while we play. So in the idle stage, you can see how it's highlighted in green. So that's just saying that when the player character enters the trigger, it's going to kick it into the next step, which is a check. It checks to see if item holder 1 is occupied. If it is, then it goes to the next one. If 2 is occupied, it goes to the next one. It'll take up the first one that shows that it is unoccupied. As soon as it finds one that's unoccupied, it kicks it to the next step. Follow the arrow from that number to the center position. And what that one does is the item starts at the speed of 0 and incrementally increases by 10 each second. So it can catch up to you without just teleporting. So it looks better. The next step that you see, follow player, is where it sets in its position. So once it catches up, instead of having it follow or move to, it sets the position at each frame, making it stick to that spot so it doesn't jitter around and look all wonky. And then once we move from this, we get to prepare to launch, which prepare to launch simply enables the second FSM here and disables, and that FSM is what turns it into a bullet or a projectile. And then right when that happens, it deactivates itself. So this whole set of program right there turns off. The reason I do that is because up here on the character controller, when you're ready to shoot, you click the right button, it jumps here, it does a check, finds the first one that's occupied and uses it, throws it here, which changes the item occupancy to available again. And then it also labels the item that was just readied up as a projectile. And then it sets item 1 as not identified. So anything else that I pick up while I'm ready can become a bullet. Or can be equipped or start following the player. When it becomes a bullet, that's when it's hovering next to the player's head. It'll move to projectile. After it sets those parameters, it'll go ahead and move to projectile, which has it moving to the spot where it is by your head. It'll start at a speed of 6, so it can smoothly get there. But if your character is outrunning it, it'll wait half a second, jump to a higher speed, and then on completion, it's in the idle state, basically, of the projectile being readied up. It turns it into a bullet as opposed to a projectile when you click shoot. And the reason it does that is because when you shoot this, you need to be able to equip another item immediately if you want to. And then when you shoot, it goes all the way back to idle, and it starts over. I believe that's really the only one on the character that's important. Cursor manager, this just sets the cursor as locked in the center and invisible. Then there's the item holder, which this first part, holder rotation, literally just is right in the center of the player. Like it was in the center, now it's on the player's back, and it's rotating around in a circle. You can see this right here, this little one of the item slots is rotating around. And on this FSM that you see, it's just hovering back and forth to give it kind of a swaying motion. And then on here, it does an occupancy check at the start of each level or world. It automatically sets everything to available, to unoccupied, so that you can equip things from the start without having any chance of the game or the program not realizing that. Next, get position. Just getting the position of where this item holder is so that it is throwing this out as a global variable so that when I pick up an item, it links it to this position, which is constantly updating, and that item is constantly updating. It links it together, and it stays and follows it. So we don't have to worry about it going where it's not supposed to or freezing in midair or anything like that. Next, shooter holder. So shooter holder doesn't really do a whole lot. This one is not being used yet. It will. Shooter holder is the position next to the player's head, right in front, that holds the item ready to shoot. This is just constantly getting its updates so that it follows the player around as well, so that we know the position. We don't have to worry about it freezing. And when I mentioned that here, it will activate the other program and deactivate itself. The other program is this right here. It's the bullet manager. Simplest one I have. It starts idle. When it's activated, the game object is changed to a projectile. When it's finished, it sets all of these true so that when it hits something, it's solid. When it lands, you can pick it back up. It waits for a small delay, very small, and sets the other FSM true so that it'll follow, that program will activate again, and it sets this FSM false. It also gives it gravity as well, so that it will fall down realistically as it flies through the air. So just to kind of show how it looks when it's shooting off, it's in the idle position. And so I'm going to make this full screen for this. So with the things that I showed, if I make a full screen, you can't see how it's shooting off. With some of the stuff I showed, there's been some updates from the last video where it's speeding up slowly so that it'll catch up to the player, but it won't do so suddenly, so it doesn't have a sudden jolt. So I want everything to look smooth. So it'll start like a slow pickup. If you're standing right there, it'll just float to the spot. If you're running, originally what would happen is it would just be so far behind because you're outrunning the speed. The player's speed is faster than the collection speed. So it'll slowly, every second, add that speed of 10, like I mentioned. So we're going to start this up. And just so you can see the full program set of operations, I'm going to pick it up last, that one. Okay, should be able to pick it up now. When you're playing in the editor, it's a lot more jittery than when I have it built out and playing it as if it's its own game program. But if you look at the bottom left, you can see the FSM and how it shoots off. It does so very quickly. Pick it up, speeds up, catches, and it's there. So, ready up the first item, shoot it. Second item, shoot it. Okay. Now when I ready this up, it's going to prepare. Then you see it disables itself. When it disabled itself, it activated this one. And then when I shot, it went through, deactivated itself, and then reactivated this one. So that's just the way to make it so that after you shoot something, it is able to be picked up again, if I can catch up. Yep, there we go. Otherwise, if it didn't reactivate or deactivate, they'd be colliding with each other in midair, and you wouldn't be able to shoot because it automatically collects it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just thought I'd go over some of the info on why this is working the way it's working. And why not? If it's not going to be too long, we'll build it out real quick. Let's see. It might take a moment though. There we go. It's going to show test scene 1, well, test scene 0, which is the original test scene, where the item was hovering around you instead of behind you. And this will kind of just show what's changed in the last day. Not a whole lot, but enough to give it a little bit more style, a little bit of a better look. So this one, you just pick it up like that. Shoot. And this will even show. If I go pick these up, I can outrun these. Just keep outrunning them. But with this one, first off, it just looks cooler because of the trails rendering, and it also catches up nice and smooth. I also fixed the issue where when you're running, you can actually shoot. Whereas originally, it would launch backwards because as you ran, the launching position would pass the object. What else I did is when you ready it up, it looks like it's falling behind and then it speeds up. That was to prevent it from falling behind as well. I kind of like how it looks that way. It gives it kind of a, it looks like it's struggling to catch up at first, which, if I stick with the idea of sidekick powers, being why you're picking all these items up at the way that you are and launching them the way that you are, then I think it kind of works. Having a little bit of a delay. So, yeah, this is a little bit of a longer video, but let me know what you think of the changes and updates. Not a whole lot this time. If you like the trails rendering behind it as I run, if you like the objects hovering behind you or around you better, I can still do it around you and have these changes. Although with the trail rendering behind you, I don't think it would work with the first option, but I want your guys' opinion, so definitely let me know. But here before long, I'll be able to make the character, the custom character for this, because this is just a placeholder character. And then we'll be able to start making levels. And special power-ups as well. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you have any input or things you would like to change. But all in all, things have moved forward pretty quickly. So, definitely like your input. Thanks.